None of us make it out of this thing alive. Okay? Be aware of it. None of us make it out of this thing alive. Warren Buffett, I use a lot of Warren Buffett lines because they're so good. Buffett says, listen, I'm 84 years old. I know I'm going to die. Okay? All I want to know is where am I going to die, and then I just won't go there. So you've got to be prepared. You got to be prepared. The last thing you want to do when you die is leave behind a mess that will destroy your family. We all know in our own families, or we know families that have siblings that don't talk to each other anymore over a table or a chair or a painting or something like that. And they go, no, Mom wanted me to have that. No, Mom liked me best. She wanted me to have that. And nothing gets taken care of. It turns into just the most hostile situation, and families are torn apart. So you have to decide how are you going to approach planning your estate. Okay? There are a number of ways to do it. You can do absolutely nothing. Okay? If let's say you don't have any children, it's just you and a spouse. Okay? Well, when you die, the spouse inherits everything immediately. There's no tax liability. It just happens automatically. Okay? Joint tenants with rights of survivorship. Very simple. No problem. Another thing is to have a will. A will is a very good and appropriate step because a will tell the court where you want the assets to go. Probate is a legal action. Okay? Probate is a legal action that requires that your will be filed with the court, and then the court will review the will. If there are no people out there contesting the will, they will distribute the assets you want. Probate is very, very expensive. I double-checked my numbers today. Let's just use the example of a house that's worth $500,000. That's what the market value of the home is. That's not how much equity you have in the house. I mean, you may have just bought the house recently, paid $500,000 for it. You don't have a nickel worth of equity in the house. Okay, so $500,000 house. When you die and you have your estate probated, the fee you pay on that property will be based upon its market value, not how much equity you have. To probate that house, that $500,000 house, will cost $13,000 in probate fees. And if there's no equity in the house and the kids sell the house, they got to come up with the $13,000. So it's a very, very expensive proposition. And the other thing about probate is it's a public process. You can go online, and there are a lot of bad people out there that do this. You can go online, and what the bad guys do, and gals, they're not all bad guys. They'll look in the newspaper for the obituaries, and they'll read an obituary, and they'll say, that person probably had a pretty good amount of money. So they go online, it doesn't cost them anything, and they look to see if that person has filed for probate. In that probate, it's everything about your finances. What assets you own, how much money you owe Nordstrom, all of that stuff is readily available for anybody to see. And then they can come after you, and usually in a very comforting and nice way, but they're really looking to do bad. Okay. So your final option is creating a living trust, which to me probably is the prudent thing to do. The day you die, the trust kicks into gear. It distributes your assets immediately the way you want them done. There is no probate fee involved. Depending on the size of your estate, there could be taxes involved, but it would have to be a very big estate for that to happen. But your assets are distributed the way you want them distributed, okay? And they will be distributed when you want them distributed. I have a good friend of mine who is got two daughters that are, one's about 11 and the other's about 8. And he said, I don't know who my girls are going to marry, but I already hate the guys. And so in his trust, he has it clearly delineated how his assets will be distributed to them in a way that will not allow the spouse to have access to the money. So those are the things you can do with a living trust that are very, very important. So, it's worth looking into. I always suggest to people when we get into legal situations, get in touch with the Bar Association. There's a North County Bar Association. There's a San Diego Bar Association. Members of the association will provide free counsel. They will be glad to meet with you if you have a question about what is a living trust, how does it work. They'll be happy to go over the basics for you. No cost, no obligation. Okay, so just get in touch with the North County Bar and say, I'd like a name of a few attorneys who practice estate planning issues. And they'll be happy to do it. That's what they do. So it's a good way to go. This all hit home really hard for me after the tragedies, the terror of 9/11. You know, the people who worked in the World Trade Center were mostly very young people. They were living a very large life. They were living a very exciting life. Most of them were making a lot of money. To not damper this room too much, but one of the problems after the attacks and the two World Trade Center towers came down is that because of the nature of the attack, there was no way to identify people as being dead. So they could not issue death certificates for these people. And it created a tremendous hardship for their families because most of their wealth probably was in a 401k or some other kind of retirement plan in their name. And the spouse could not access that money because they were the beneficiary, but the person had not been declared dead. And in some cases, it took years before they were able to do that. Had they put in place one simple document, a financial power of attorney, which you can do on your own, online, get the thing online, just as you should have a medical power of attorney in place, you would have been able to avoid that and circumvent all of those situations. But again, you can't have a financial power of attorney in a drawer and then just automatically think you can go use it. You have to put it in place with your credit union, with your bank, with your financial services company, other places like that where it may have to come into play. Say, we filed with you this financial power of attorney because of circumstances, we now have to put it into place. So just some things to think about along those lines and stuff like that. Well, that put a real damper on the room, didn't it?